I am so proud to present to you President Bill Clinton.
Since Ted Strickland has been governor, Ohio now has the lowest small business taxes in the entire Midwest because you got rid of the franchise tax and you got rid of the tangible personal property tax. If manufacturing jobs are a big target, then his program to revitalize the Ohio economy by specifically recruiting high-tech and other growing manufacturing jobs has already generated 55,000 jobs, and it's better than most other states have. That's a good beginning. If you believe green jobs are a source of the future, you want Ted Strickland to be your governor because Ohio has been rated in the top 5 states in America by bipartisan analysis in being suited for green jobs for the future and being ahead of the curve. And if you care about jobs, it ought to matter to you that every single year, a nonpartisan analysis for all the states, without regard to the party of the governor, is done of their economic development programs. And the winner gets something called the Governor's Cup, the best program in all of America. Guess what? In 2007, 2008, and 2009, Ohio won the Cup, the best economic development program in the entire country. Now, that's what you're being asked to bag. I wouldn't do it if I were you. And we haven't even got to training the workers. One of the problems is there's a big gap between when these openings occur and the training occurs. There's not enough money. Ted Strickland has started a program called Ohio Guarantee, I think. And he's got also a skills bank. It's called Workforce Guarantee. The Workforce Guarantee works like this. If there's an opening and there's not an immediate training program in the area for that job, they give the money to the employer and the employee trains the employee. Nobody in America, in other words, is going to train people to close this skills gap quicker than Ohio. Then they've got a skills bank which breaks it down by region because this is such a big state, you can't generalize about the economy. I don't believe I'd give that up if I were you. For somebody that says we just ought to cut education and training money and be frugal. That's being penny wise and pound foolish. You better train people for these jobs so you can fill them. They are open now. And in education generally, in the last national ranking, Ohio ranks 6th in the country in the overall quality of K through 12 education. I don't believe I'd get rid of that. So let's just review the bidding here. You've got a governor fighting for his life with a brilliant running mate after a record that established Ohio as first in the nation in economic development, first in the Midwest in low taxes on small business, in the top 5 in the nation in likelihood to get the green jobs of the future, with as good a job training program as anybody has got. I don't believe I'd get rid of that if I were you. I know what I know about your governor. I've known a bunch of politicians all over the world. I've known the greatest statesman of the last 60 years. You gave me the greatest honor of my life in letting me serve as president. But I'm just going to tell you, in terms of both being a human being and being a great political leader and an effective one, he's right up there at the top. You know how many states who would scream to be rated first in economic development, in the top 5 in green energy, 6th in public education, with the lowest taxes in their region on new business development? They're all over. We can't put this man at risk. We can't put this direction at risk. And you ought not to put the direction of the country at risk. Give the Democrats 2 more years. If we don't make any progress, you can throw us out and say our ideas are wrong. But at least then maybe you won't have to bring the shovel brigade back in. This crowd that's running now, if they're sworn in, they'll have one hand on the Bible, the other hand they'll be holding the shovel. And just one last thing I want you to think about. I know Governor Strickland's opponent was head of the Budget Committee when I was president, and the Republicans had the Congress. And he's been telling everybody how he brokered this balanced budget deal that passed in a bipartisan manner, right? Making him look reasonable. And I want to tell you something. He did do that. And I'm grateful for it. He bargained in good faith with Erskine Bowles, and he deserves credit for it. But what you need to know, again, if you had to watch the game films, you'd see this. That's not the whole truth. Here's the whole truth. Before he negotiated the balanced budget agreement with me, he produced their budget. Their budget got rid of the Department of Education and the Environmental Protection Agency, or the Energy Department one. I can't remember which one. It's got rid of them. That's a great idea for a clean energy future, and for getting job training money for Ohioans so they can get the jobs that are open. And cut Medicare and Medicaid and just about everything else you can imagine. We'd be in a terrible fix then. And gave people in my income group another big tax cut. Wouldn't have really done much except hurt the economy. And then when I wouldn't take it, they shut the government down not once but twice. Their leaders sat in the White House and told me they would break me. I said, you may do it. You may take me down to 5% approval, but you won't get this budget passed till you get somebody else in the Oval Office. And so, what happened? You sided with me and the great government shut down, and then they came along and did the budget. So you need to know that. Even more important, you need to know that if that budget had never passed, 90% of the deficit would have disappeared. Because of the vote cast in 1993, only by members of my party, to reverse trickle-down economics with invest and grow economics, to bring back arithmetic to Washington, D.C., and to balance a budget, the only way you can balance it by raising money and cutting spending. Now, since that did 90% of the work, when they have this debate tonight, if this comes up, I just want you to remember, if you look at the game films, you would see that 10% of the credit for the balanced budget belongs to the governor's opponent, and 90% belongs to the Democrats who voted for the big budget in 93, including Ted Strickland, who is now the governor of the state of Ohio. So, I went through all this because I'm trying to give you ammunition. Go talk to the angry and tell them to hold on to their anger, but don't cloud your judgment. Go talk to the apathetic and tell them if they voted last time, they better vote this time if they wanted their last vote to mean anything. And go talk to the people with amnesia and tell them to watch the game films. Pretend they're on the Ohio State coaching staff. Don't say you didn't go to the Super Bowl, Mr. President and Congress and Governor, in a year. When I took office as governor of Arkansas in 1983, my unemployment rate was terrible. And when I ran for president in 1992, we had the leading state in the country. We ranked first in new jobs when I ran. But guess what? Before 1992, there was only 1 month when our unemployment rate was below the national average. You get in a deep hole, it takes a while to dig out of it. I dug and dug and dug as hard as I could. These people are trying to get us back. There is nothing wrong with this country that can't be fixed by what's right with it, but you got to do what's right with it. I want you to go out there, give people the facts, get them to look at the game films, and tell them this is just as important as football. Let's run it the same way. God bless you all.